Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Supatease here with another PvP walkthrough, and in this one I'm going to be going over Discipline Priest. As many of you Discipline Priest players have probably already experienced, it's quite difficult to play the game when there are two melee classes hunting you down start to finish, in particular Death Knights, and also pairing them with Windwalker monks or arms warriors. These combinations are quite difficult to deal with as their damage is very potent now since the changes to our focused will damage reduction. So as you can see with my talents open here, this is my maximum healing, shining force, knockback, screw you melee cleave, get off my face talent choice. I do not run this in any other case except when I feel that I'm going to be the highest pressured target. It's important to take Masochism, Twist of Fate, Ultimate Radiance, and Enduring Luminescence, at least one Azurite trait to apply Atonement to yourself, Archangel for bonus healing, Dome of Light for their big attack. Now in this specific matchup, the enemy's team's goal is to just get on me as quickly as possible, take me out as quickly as possible. Our goal is to crowd control their healer and kill the Windwalker monk, as he is the most squishy target. The Death Knight can heal himself with Death Strike, and the Windwalker does not have that self-sustainability, so he is the easiest target to kill. While you can make swaps to the Mistweaver monk, that's a bit riskier and it will put you on more of a clock. So right at the start of the match, you want to stay as far away as possible so that your team can secure crowd control before the fight has started. More importantly, the crowd control ability Sap, which can only be applied to a player that's out of combat. So I stay very far back in the pipe, get Power Word Shield onto everybody to make sure they have atonements. When I see Sap, I then jump down and I actually immediately mount up. And the reason you would actually want to mount up in that position is to just constantly kite away from them. They could switch to another target, which is why I think that I opted not to go for the mounts. And I'm playing on the edge here at the top to set myself up for a Shining Force. So I start moving towards the edge, and then I use Shining Force to knock them away. They tried to trade Anti-Magic Zone for Icy Veins, which ended up prematurely getting knocked out with Shining Force, and we get some value. It's very important to run that knockback talent. Your main goal, while you're always moving away, is to use instant cast spells. When you get gripped inevitably into a stun, Pain Suppression, I like to use as my first cooldown of choice in this specific matchup, and then immediately use Desperate Prayer and Fade if you have the Azurite traits that allow Fade to apply a powered shield to yourself, basically. Then I activate Archangel and Rapture, and I use my Haste Trinket so I can get some more global cooldowns, use my instant cast Radiances when I've proc Twist of Fate from being low health, and then as soon as there are no interrupts next to me, I immediately start spamming Shadow Mend, picking myself up and also applying Masochism, which is damage reduction to myself. Now, while I'm not taking any damage and I'm always moving away from the Death Knight, I then reapply my Purge the Wickets to multiple targets. Here you can see Abomination, this giant undead ghoulish looking thing. I trade Power Word Barrier for that, and I hide in the safety of it. It reduces a ton of damage, and you always want to be casting while inside of this, so I use Penance aggressively to try and pressure the Windwalker, as he's very far behind on defensive cooldowns. And if I get interrupted on that, I immediately then move to cast Shadow Mend. You always want to be casting spells against a melee cleave to stay ahead of the damage and to get through as many interrupts as possible. By jumping off the side there where I did jump down, it positioned it so the Mistweaver had to move in the middle of the map and exposed him to Polymorph. I tell my team I'm moving for a Psychic Scream, and then my Frost Mage actually sets me up by using Frost Nova to hold the Mistweaver in place while I crawl my little priest butt over there to get a Psychic Scream. And with that coordination between the Frost Mage and the Priest, obviously as the Priest I don't have a lot of mobility, we're able to execute a ton of damage and actually finish the game because of it. I had a lot of fun playing this composition, Assassination Rogue and Frost Mage, and with the Frost Mage's help and support using snares to catch crowd control and find those moments to get aggressive, we were able to pull off a victory against this team that was otherwise farming us for most of the night. This is probably one of the most difficult matchups that you will see in the game, and I still think that I could have played it better. And it's all just about out positioning, always moving and staying away, and then as soon as you can't move, start casting and never stop casting. and that way you'll be able to get through the interrupts a little more readily. And then as soon as you can get that shadow mend going, you're going to be able to start pumping yourself back to full. But while you're moving, you want to get those moving spells. So Penance, Ultimate Radiance. Usually Ultimate Radiance if you're afraid of an interrupt like a Mind Freeze before a Penance, because if you get interrupted on Penance, you can't use Ultimate Radiance. But either way, using the Powered Barrier for Abomination, crucial. Using Pain Suppression to trade out for the first stun of the game out of a Death Grip, and then using Fade and using Desperate Prayer with the Azerite traits that allow Fade to apply a powered shield to yourself. Basically, they're off global cooldown, so you can use those while you're activating your Rapture. That will give you enough time to actually activate it. Otherwise, your Rapture global cooldown, I've died a lot just activating Rapture. So make sure you've got maybe one Azerite trait that makes your Fade also apply a shield, and then use your Desperate Prayer, those two at the same time. You can also use your get an on-use haste trinket to reduce the global cooldown, so you can get a little more Raptures out while getting tunneled down by these melee cleaves. Anyway, I hope that this Discipline Priest guide was of some assistance to you. I really enjoyed my time on this comp in particular. We did phenomenally well. That team was one of the only teams really giving us a hard time, and I attribute it to me not playing Discipline Priest in a long time. Mistweaver definitely outshines Discipline Priest, but it's more than a ton of fun, especially when you get a team that's well coordinated and interested in working together. So as I pointed out, the Frost Nova from the Mage and the teamwork there was phenomenal, and it made it a great experience. World of Warcraft is not necessarily only about your individual mechanical skill. It's a lot about teamwork and coordination and strategy. So make sure that you're looking for opportunities like that if you can help your partners out in a match, and you're going to see a lot more success. Thank you for tuning into this video, and I'll see you on the next one.